Hi, this is Imogen Lamport from 16 Style Types coming to you today. And I will be talking with Jill Chivers. Let me just move this over. There we go. That looks better. All about the ISTJ, the appropriate stylist. Now, let me... There we go. Still on right now. If this is all working correctly. There we are. Perfect.
We made it. We're here.
Yeah, we're here. It's always good when that works.
Yes, it's always a benefit, I find, when we can join the call.
Yes. How are you today, Jill?
Well, I'm here. So let's focus on the positives.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a bit warmer up in Queensland than it is here in Melbourne.
It is. And I'm trying a new background. I'm going to see if it's a little bit too much.
Too much. Well, it's very appropriate for you, Jill.
Yes. Well, yes. We'll see. We'll see whether we get any complaints about it. Anyway, I'm giving it a whirl.
Can there ever be too much leopard? I mean, isn't that what,
In my world, the answer to that is no. I do understand, I have it on good authority, that for some people the answer is yes. I hear that. I've heard that feedback.
Yes. So, I mean, today's topic, which is ISTJ, the appropriate stylist, they might feel a little too much, leopard print might not be up their street in the way that it is for you.
That's true. Although, just to play devil's advocate, it would depend on their circumstances. If they were in a circumstances, say a leopard print party, they would do it very, very well with meticulous care and an attention to detail. They would probably be the best dressed leopard print person there if such a thing ever came into their world. Yes.
I mean, I do know some, who go, well, if I have to do that, then I'll just do it. That's what they say I have to do. So because they are the appropriate stylist, aren't they? So it's like,
they are.
If leopard prints the party, then that's where they're going.
Yes, absolutely. And ISTJ's need for appropriateness stems from a very particular place. There are a number of style types, and we've heard from them who talk about how if they are out of sync or out of step with the dress code, they can feel uncomfortable. But what drives those feelings of uncomfortableness is different. So say for an ENFJ, it's all about connection to other people and how she's misconnecting because her style is out of step with her audience, with the people that she's hoping to have this expressive connection with. For an ISTJ, it's about the rules have not been properly understood and the rules have not been followed, and the rules are very important. And so there's a different driving motivation for this need for appropriateness. And it's always important to understand the why when it comes to type, because so often we can say, yeah, I do that, or I've had an experience where I've done that. And of course, all of us who've lived on planet Earth for any length of time have a range of behaviors and experiences we could draw from. Doesn't mean that it's affecting you in the same way, though. So that's an important thing to be aware of. Yes.
I mean, one of the things that I remember with some of the research when we started this is the ISTJ, their level of appropriate is really important. That if they turned up wearing the same thing as somebody else or wearing the wrong thing to a party, how would they deal with that, Jill?
Yeah, well, when we interviewed our ISTJ style muse, we had a number of very quotable quotes in our interviews for this. And our beautiful ISTJ, well, for a start, what was really interesting is when we did the interview, she had her typed up notes in front of her and a glass of water and nothing else on the table. She was ready beforehand and, totally prepared. She was the only interviewee for whom that degree of preparedness was there. And she then sent us her notes, which she'd been working on for some time before we interviewed her immediately after the session. But she described a situation where she'd been running around on the morning before church and she was just wearing her house shoes. And in the rush to get out the door, she didn't change her shoes, which I believe were black, which matched her black pants. And partway to church, she recognized this, and she demanded her husband turn the car around and take her home, because if she turned up to church wearing the wrong shoes, and this is a direct quote, she said, I would die. I would die. Now, of course, she doesn't mean that literally, but it gave us a sense of the absolute pathos, how deeply she felt this need to be wearing the appropriate thing. And that has stuck with me ever since we heard that. And we had been thinking that ESTJs were the ones who had this, you know, most likely to have appropriateness as a style value. But after that interview, we realized it was the ISTJs.
Yes. And in fact, our ISTJs that we've met since have also confirmed this, that appropriate is so important to them. It's actually like such a big key, along with being this, you know, the style organizer as well. They're massively well organized. And in fact, I love seeing photos from some of our ISTJs who share their wardrobes and accessory stations, and, you know, how they put everything in their, you know, their style life together. It's all, I mean, it's always so beautiful to look at, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And just recently we've seen some photos of a wonderful ISTJ we're in connection with, who is reorganizing her hobby space. And I think they were meant to be before pictures, but they look like after pictures to me. Just the stunning level of attention to detail, how meticulous everything was. And also very interesting in that little example of putting out a call for how would you organize this space, level of preparedness. It's a hallmark of ISTJs. And in the corporate work that I do, any project that does not have access to an ISTJ, in my opinion, in my experience, needs to co-opt one in, at least temporarily, because they don't miss things. You know, things do not slip through the cracks. And also they just see things in a different way. They are very, very literal. And they're the most literal of all of the 16 types. And that is a blessing when you receive feedback and you go, oh, right, yes, that's how that's being seen. Hadn't quite, you know, I hadn't put all the steps in between these two things. And those steps are important, otherwise you get lost.
Yes, yes. Great at process-driven things. And I think this is why they love a set of style rules, and it, you know, because it helps them really put their wardrobes together. They want to know the real specifics. You know, just tell me exactly what works and why, and, you know, how I'm going to do this, and then I can just do it A plus B plus C plus D, and that makes it really easy. I think so. That's something, because it simplifies. They want they like a simple wardrobe. They don't need a big wardrobe. That's something too, that they're great with a more capsule size wardrobe with a more limited color palette that works for them. You know, picking a favorite neutral, few colors, few accent colors, and then putting those things together. They'll often, most commonly, they're one of the types who most commonly have kind of multiples of what appear to be the same item. Sometimes in different colors as well. That's something we see commonly in the ISTJ wardrobe. They're very happy to get rid of things. They don't have the same sentimental attachment that some of the other types might have to things. So they've made a mistake. They get rid of things much more quickly, frequently. My ISTJ son, he'll always say to me is, Mum, I don't let my room get messy, so then I never have to clean it up.
Very efficient.
It's very efficient. It's very smart. It's, you know, like, unlike my ESFP daughter, who is the total opposite.
Operating just in a totally different way.
A totally different space. But yeah, so it's fascinating just how much, and one of the things we've also found with some of our ISTJs is just how finding their own style recipe really helps them nail down their style.
I was going to say that when you're talking about style rules, the source of those style rules is incredibly important, because they can be a little bit susceptible to tick and flick. Okay, I've got this, tick, 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 style's all sorted, I'm just going to follow this from now until the end of time. And there's a couple of things that can go wrong with that. One is if you haven't gotten the correct style rules. So for example, if you have been incorrectly put into a color palette that is not yours, that can be one thing. Two is, as we move through life, some of those things can morph and change, and our coloring can change, as you and I have chatted about things. So the source of information and the need to keep things current can be two things to keep in mind for the efficient ISTJ, who really just wants to get it sorted and then get on with whatever it is that is of interest to them, which is often many and varied things. So they're really important things to be aware of. Where are you sourcing your information, and spending that preparation time really being sure you've got the right information that you are following. And they are the type who are most likely to have a scant wardrobe. We work with a range of women of all of the 16 style types, and some of them, their problem is, how do I organize, this very large wardrobe full of many things, often many and varied things, not always varied, but sometimes. ISTJs are often, I actually don't have enough clothes.
Yes. Yeah, it's very easy, I think, for them to go down that route, pare back too much if they're not careful. Yes. So what can other types learn from the ISTJ?
Well, this appropriate thing is a really wonderful gift to bring into the style space. ISTJs really are the queens of understated balance. They're not the only style type who seek balance, but that sense of understated balance, that sense of ensuring that they know what the dress codes are and they are appropriately dressed. Now, for some style types, that doesn't even enter into the equation. We get that. We totally get that. But there are occasions when this is an important ingredient, and the ISTJs really model this beautifully, absolutely beautifully. And also they are models of efficiency in terms of how they organize their space, in their processes for getting ready, laundering, all of those kinds of things. These are all what I call hygiene factors. They're often not terribly exciting in and of themselves, but if those processes are not working for you, that can really hamper your ability to get out the door and get on with your day, because you're stuck rifling, or the thing you want to wear isn't laundered or needs repair. Those kinds of things. Women of all style types have told us about how those things get in the way of them having, a positive experience of getting ready and getting out the door. And ISTJs model those things beautifully.
Yes. So they're great at that. They're great at organising their spaces as well. I think that's something I've really noticed about them. That, they're putting their clothes together in a way that makes sense to them, that's organised in a way that it's easy to access. So that speeds things up. One of the things I've seen, and this is many times going through people's wardrobes, is somebody go, I've got this thing, and they're rifling through the wardrobe, and they're rifling and rifling and rifling and rifling, and then they've gone to one end to the other, and then they haven't found it. They start again, and they're going through and through and through, and like, I know it's in here somewhere. That's never going to happen in an ISTJ wardrobe.
No, it isn't.
That can take quite a bit of time out of your day. That if you think, today I want to wear my, X, black skirt or something, and you can't find it, you could lose 5 minutes, and then you go, maybe it's in, like this morning, my daughter was sending me text messages as I'm walking the dog. I can't find my stocking, my tights, my school tights. And it's like, well, her room's always a bit of a mess, and has she actually put things away? And then it could be stuffed under the bed, or it's, behind something, or maybe it's in a bag, or that maybe it's in the laundry, or maybe it's in some washing basket somewhere, or, like there's this 25 places that it could possibly be. And she's starting to get panicky about it. And eventually she did find it. Went in a place where she'd looked 5 times before, but, but it's that sort of thing that's not going to happen. That's something I think the ISTJ, because they have got real systems in place of where they keep things. There is a place for everything, and everything goes in its place, and and it's their own system. And I think, you might not do an ISTJ system, but you need to work out your own system. And I think that's something that can really make life easier, where you go, you know, and one of the things when I'm thinking about, well, how do I find a system that works for me? And I always remember, you know, because, you know, there's some things I was great at, and other things like, you know, I would get lost and I'd go, well, so think back to what are the things that work for me? What do I do well? And how do I do that? And then how can I implement that system into this other space? And so that's something I think the ISTJs have nailed that many of the rest of us can learn about.
I completely agree. We all might not want to do it the way that ISTJs do it, but we can certainly borrow heavily from the approach they take, the systems that they take, even the questions that they ask. You know, they are the wonderful question askers that literally you stop in your tracks and you go, oh, and that can be extremely useful. Now, even if you don't follow down the pathway that they have gone down, the very asking of the question has value in it. And, you know, from that perspective, they offer all of us a wonderful gift. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And is there anything else you think that the ISTJ, what could they learn? What do they, you know, what do they need?
Well, this is an interesting thing. An overarching statement I would make is that type offers all of us a wonderful lens through which to see ourselves, and that lens offers no judgment. That doesn't mean it doesn't offer lots and lots of observation. And for those new to type, they can often confuse those two things. They hear an observation and they think it's a judgment. And type is really the most non-judgmental language in describing, you know, the human condition that I've ever come across personally, that's universally applicable, applicable. And so from that perspective, that's just going to preface what I am about to say. So ISTJs can, as we talked about before, do the sort of tick and flick, it's done. And that can sometimes lead them into not updating their style often enough, so that their life has moved on but their style hasn't. So they can get a little bit out of date with where their life is. So their lifestyle has moved on, or their geography has changed, or something else has changed in their environment, maybe relationship or work related, any of those kinds of things. And the other thing that can happen is it can get a little predictable. And so stability is an incredibly important value to all SJs, and ISTJs would really top that list. So we're not looking to destabilize a system that requires stability, but we are looking to ensure that it is and remains a true reflection of the person, and that means some degree of updating. The ISTJs, in our experience, will want to update less often than others. They often have almost zero interest in fashion and trends and in that regard. But that's a really important thing to keep in mind. This is not a once and done forever the rest of my life thing.
Yes. And I think too, remembering that being dated, if you're seen as dated, particularly if you found a style that you go, this works for me, I found my set of rules and I like this and it works for me, and then you can just get stuck there. And after, you know, in a decade, it can just start looking a bit frumpy. Which is probably not, you know, I've not met anybody who frumpy is their go-to sort of in their style recipe. And so that is one of those things. One of the other things I think I've noticed is things like, because they're often very financially conservative, so they will have a high economic value, that sometimes they will really like something else but buy the cheaper version that they don't like as much, because of this financial conservatism, that it can feel too extravagant to spend a bit more. And they can sometimes have a real level on how much they're willing to spend on something. So kind of, because they have a smaller wardrobe, it needs to be full of better quality things that are going to last longer, because they're not going to be replacing them frequently. So knowing that.
And
so
they're going to
actually, and so thinking about cost per wear, I think that's a really important thing, to get that cost.
And they're going to be generally, talking over the top of you twice now. That'll go badly on my performance review. I was going to say, and they often wear things more frequently for two reasons. One is that they have less items altogether, so they have to turn to the items they have more frequently. But the other is they're really interested double, triple, quadruple duty, where things cut across various elements of their life. So their gear really does get worn an awful lot. I mean, my wardrobe is so large, I can honestly go a year and not wear things just because I have so many alternatives in that particular
Yes.
category. Go, oh, I didn't get a chance to wear that, you know, that 6 leopard print jacket this non-winter. That
Yes.
doesn't generally happen to ISTJs. So that's
No.
where the cost thing can really come in to say you're actually making a better financial decision, because if you buy the more expensive pair, presuming that quality follows cost, you will actually get
Yes.
greater wear out of them.
Yes. So that's where it's like learning about limits and thinking about, so especially like, you know, a good pair of shoes will last, you know, if it's well made, and it can be worth spending that little bit of extra, especially your kind of your basics, your, you know, your everyday, you know, trousers and a good pair of jeans, and, you know, like if you've got, you know, something that you wear all the time, rather than going for the cheap version. Is to go, well, how long do I want this to last for? How many wears am I going to get out for it? What will be the cost per wear? And how hard? I mean, one of the other things I think that they often don't add into this equation is the economy of their time. How much does it cost them in time and effort to find something that they love? So I often think that if you find something that you just go, I just really love this thing, and yes, it's more expensive, but if you're an ISTJ and you really love it and you're going to wear it an awful lot, you know, trying to find a cheaper version is probably not the best use of your time.
I completely agree. I was just thinking about that. And they are not the natural shoppers of the world either. It doesn't tend to rank high as, you know, an engaging recreational activity. Even when family and friends and loved ones are involved, they tend to have a limited tolerance for too much shopping activity. They want it to be efficient. They want it to be effective. And so I agree, factoring in that element of time can really help make those sorts of decisions. And again, I would come back to the importance of preparation, having your go-to stores and having a storehouse of information. One of the things that ISTJs do very well, we talked about organizing, is that sense of categorizing information. So it's not just physical things, they're possessions that they're very good at, but it's information. And so that's something that they can do as well, is just start to gather style information in a way that's accessible when they need it.
Yes. So it's things like too, as things are wearing out, put that on your list to start looking for a new one, because you'll be really needing it. You know, having your list of what do I need, what are my rules, what are the things that I really want, and do all my criteria. They're great at the details. They don't miss those details like some of the other types do. They're really great at those details. So what are the details that you love? I think that's the other thing too, is really noting down this favorite garment. If you've got some favorites, what is it that you really like about those favorites? What are the specific details? Because often when you're trying to find that replacement, you know, it may be kind of similar, but if you haven't got that list of specific details, you might miss out on the thing that made you really love that. And I think that's something the ISTJ can do so well, is to get that list and then go, this is what I'm really looking for, rather than settling for something that's similar but not quite right.
Yeah. Again, reinforcing the need to always ask why and to drill down to that level of detail. And they are wonderful at detail, ISTJs.
Yes. So is there anything else you want to add about the ISTJ, the amazing style organizing appropriate stylist?
Yes, I think like all of the 16 style types, what this offers those who prefer ISTJ is a wonderful mirror to see themselves. And when you are first introduced to that, there can be many reactions you have to that, including some degree of shock, some degree of, am I really this wonderful? Some degree of, am I really this way? And we can start to place judgments on the things that are being described in as neutral a language as type can possibly offer. And that's what it does. It's neutral. It is morally neutral. And so I would offer to all of those with ISTJs is to recognize the wonderful gifts that understanding your style type does offer you. That's certainly how we see it. That's how the language is written. That's how the whole of the 16 personalities is geared around, is recognizing those gifts. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. And I think that in many ways, because the ISTJ is naturally organized and naturally appropriate, they just think that everybody can do that. And they have a gift at it in a way that they don't realize it's a gift. And I think that's one of those things that, particularly for, they are so naturally organized in that way that just go, well, like, this is just easy because it's so innate. They don't have to think about it. That they don't realize that this is a struggle for many other types. And I think that's really important. And one of the other things I just think are worth mentioning is that often, because the ISTJ style is often more simple, it's more uncluttered, it's usually more understated, but they can look at other more creative types who have more dramatic and more out there styles and can feel lacking. Yet, but if they try to put it on, they'd feel like a clown or like it's a costume. It's just not them. And so I think one of the things that's important for the ISTJ is to recognize that we can appreciate that on others. But if it doesn't feel true to you, then trying to do it is not right. And that there are many others who will look at your beautiful understated style and go, it's so sophisticated and understated, and I wish I could do that. But I have to be this eclectic mix of crazy.
And the other thing that people will pick up on, whether or not they can put words to it or not, is how authentic it is. And of course, that's what we're all about here, is authenticity and having your style expression truly express the core of who you are, and about removing any of that sense of being an imposter or wearing a costume or copying other people because we see somebody who is highly creative or highly dramatic or highly something else that has a lot of, huge visual appeal. We often don't know where to look. And the message that may go with that is that's how to be stylish. And of course, the answer is that's how to be stylish for that person, assuming it's authentic for them. It's not a universal style. It's particular and very particular. And that sense of authenticity, once you have experienced that, you never want to approach style in another way ever again. All the things you can let go of. I mean, one of the beautiful ISTJs in our world has talked about this statement necklace thing, that somewhere in her style journey, she had picked up that this might be a thing to do. And the relief that she felt to set that down, that was not a part of her style expression. And she was able to sort of give herself permission that I don't have to do this. Yes, I see it on others. I appreciate it on others. It's just not me.
Yes. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's knowing what is you, what's comfortable to you. And this is where the style type reports are a key insight into that, of what is you, what's going to help you be the best version of you. And having that understanding of, your own gifts, your own challenges, what you're really great at. And, and there's a little bit there too of what you can look at to try and improve. But it
wouldn't be type without that, to be honest with you. I have never been in a single type environment where all that's ever offered are, the things, your gifts. It always comes with blind spots or challenges or development areas or opportunities for growth. This is part and parcel of the type journey.
Yeah. But I think for all types, it's really great to actually understand that your gifts are gifts and that not everybody else has them. Because so much our gifts are innate that we just don't even know we're doing them. And so sometimes actually having that light shone on them and actually come to go, oh, I didn't realize that was a gift. And it's something that can help actually build your confidence, because I think that's also with many women who don't have the natural gift of style, where they don't have that innate, I just know how to put it all together, that actually having that light shine on, here you actually have some gifts and this is what you're good at, can really give you a bit of confidence then to strike out and not think that it's all too hard, because style is not something that most of us are taught at school. We often don't have parents who had it or someone who influenced us as we were growing up. Many of us, like, I know I didn't have any style help at all growing up.
Right.
So, and I'm sure that there are many other women who are just the same.
Absolutely.
And so, yet we all have to get dressed every day, and we are judged on how we appear. So I think this is where this value of our style type and understanding that is so great, because it just gives you that insight. And also too, if you're different from your family, if you did grow up with messages, and they're very different from what you grew up, you know, like that you just never felt like you fit in, or you aren't like others, that you can go, oh, and you read the style type report and you go, oh, now I get me, that I'm just, this is me, and my family is different, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's an incredible gift, and it's a gift of great beauty and some sophistication. That's certainly true. I've been working now with type for 20 years. This is my anniversary year of being certified in type. And I sometimes still feel like I have barely scratched the surface. There is just so much to learn. And of course, a lot of the information about type has been popularized and also reduced to behaviorism. And of course, there is an element of behavior, but type goes to the core. That's the beautiful part about it, which is why if you only ever look at behavior, you never even get close to understanding the gift that type has to offer. You always have to go beneath the surface and look at internal drivers and motivations and what's at the heart of it. And that's when type starts to really pop up these amazing things where you can have this sense of, how is it possible that these people who I may have never met, they know this about me? We've had people say that to us. I mean, it's like you had a camera inside my house, inside my closet. How could you know this?
Yes. So if you haven't got your style type report, we do recommend going onto our website, 16styletypes.com, and getting it. And we will be back in the next month with another style type. And of course, if you check out the videos here on our 16 Style Types page, you can see other videos we've made about other style types as well that you might be interested in watching to learn more about how all the different style types approach style and what you can learn from them.